and it's near and dear to me, and there are a number of attorneys who work with us on this. In the last 4 years, one of the best ways of preventing environmental damage is the coalitions. We have 800,000 acres that are not leased because the coalitions refuse to sign bad leases.
Yeah, that is the beauty of the
And that's not a
coalition.
government thing, that's community organizing, and the people in this room, and the people in this county, and in Broome County, and other counties in the upstate area have organized, and we just won't let them lease unless it's right. Look at the SGEIS. Closed loop drilling, who asked for that? 4 years ago, the coalitions. Off-site disposal of all waste, who asked for that? Coalitions 4 years ago. Who wouldn't give it to us? Gas companies, we didn't sign. We just got more people to sign up for the coalitions. Recycling of the water. Alternative fracking. No open pits. Who asked for that? This is the coalitions. DEC asked the coalitions, what were we doing? How many of those things do you see in that SGIS? Nobody knows that a lot of that stuff came from the coalition's work like him and his brother and other people, Bob Williams, who's an environmental scientist, John Lacey, who's a pipeline specialist. These people, for 4 years, helped the rest of you help yourselves. And that's done more than any DEC regulation, any more local ban, and that's where our strength is in the community organizing of coalitions. 800,000 acres. You know how many acres that is? That's a lot of acres that are not under lease, that will not be drilled. Because one thing I can tell you, and he'll tell you again, there is no drilling without a lease. If there's no lease, there's no drilling. Thank you.
Now, that doesn't apply to pipeline. If you play hardball with a pipeline, they got a big card they can pull out. Eminent domain.
Ed, thank you for coming again. My name's Todd Barnes. I have 150 acres right here, the old Blue Skies farm. Anyways, first thing, you mentioned something up there about severance, your mineral rights.
Yeah, you
One
can.
thing I do before I buy any piece of property.
A lot of.
I am moving into this house over here from my house. I've been born and raised less than 10 miles from here. I lived in Sydney, lived in Mount Upton, and now I'm moving right here to Gilbertsville. 4 years that Chris was talking about, I was one of the guys that sat in the room when we started learning about this. I've listened to a lot of people put down the coalitions, and that, you people really didn't understand how environmentally concerned we were. The first thing we did was, a lot of us, and I see 3 of us here, that turned right straight around and met with DEC. There was 38 coalition leaders at that particular time, 4 years ago. We asked DEC, and one of the questions that I asked them straight up was the fact, what aren't you telling us so we can better equip ourselves and protect ourselves? The reason that I asked that specific question was due to the fact, 20 years ago, I still own my property here in Mount Upton. I bought it fresh out of high school. 20 years ago, I had guys knocking on the door. They didn't pay my taxes then. I didn't know enough about it, wouldn't sign. When they come around 4 years ago, I joined up with my neighbors, and that's the reason the coalition, when CNY got started, we turned right straight around and started asking the question, how is this going to benefit us? Where is this going to go? The money that the coalitions, that everybody thought the coalitions was after, it wasn't. We sat in a room and really hammered on DEC in several different meetings until this moratorium got put in place. One of the guys, like Brian Latourette right here, who started the Oxford Coalition, even when Jackie Root did the deposit group, we went over, looked at the lease, looked what was protected, didn't like it. We turned right straight around. We was at that particular point, 2 separate coalitions, but yet we shared information. And that's what I advised the town board to do. Share the information. A lot of what is misconception here could turn around and be easily done in Western New York, where, you know, other boards have already gone through this. And all we ever see, you guys say that a lot of outsiders come in, and you're disappointed on what they say, because we've been doing it for 4 years. We've been doing this for 4 years to make sure that our lands were protected. Why did we do it? They came to the landowners that own quite a bit of land. And the reason they did that was for the parcels. It wasn't for doing it inside the villages. So there's a separate issue here. They come to us. The joint coalition, different leaders, was big tracts of land in everybody's area. And they wanted the protection for their land. Now, in jumping ahead of most people that has get jumped on this band in the last year or two, we look at it as a little bit disrespectful. And the reason being, town boards didn't want to hear it back then 4 years ago. We turned around, and I sat in there with Shenango County, and I got told I had 15 minutes, had 40,000 acres behind me, and the guy standing there turned around and says, "You only got 15 minutes." I explained what I had. I couldn't get it all out. Our concerns. Well, we got overrun. So that's when we started banding together. Town boards didn't want to hear it. I mean, tractor gets stuck in the field, you think town board's gonna come out and pull me out? No, I gotta get another farmer, another guy who's got a big tract of land. We banded together to help protect our land. And I think that the town board should listen to what some of the coalition groups have, because we turned right straight around, and out of these groups, we have how many now, Sue?
Like 44.
But that's where the protection of the land is coming from. Chris, that stands right straight here, was one we had listened to way back then. We turned right straight around and wanted that protection. We learned a lot over the 4 years, but I have not heard one town, even over in Shenango County, that has asked us to come and sit with their board to turn around and find out what we did learn. When we sat there with all these different coalition groups, we had guys that had a lot of knowledge all the way around this table. Everybody come at it from a different angle. Everybody come from a different point of view. And that's how most of these coalitions have got such awesome leases. I mean, I've heard about with the water. Look right here in Smyrna. You've got how many wells? 40? You know, I mean, the people aren't dying off. The last time I was in here with David Shalaski, I turned around and I asked David a specific question. If I lived on the town border and just over the line, they turned around and drilled a well, and I ended up getting integrated into the unit, what happens to the moratorium? David Shalaski turned around and said, absolutely nothing, you can't do it. The boundary lines are right there. Well, when David, I wish he was here tonight, because it is not that way. This can come encumbrance into the area just by integration alone. And the integration is done only on 60% of a unit, depending upon which formation and how deep. So knowing the knowledge that is available to you, I mean, Ed right
Don't blame it
here,
on me. I don't know enough.
Ed right here, I think he did a good job when he went down through the list. He showed that there is two sides to this, and to be careful. Anything you go into needs to open your eyes. Chris Denton standing right here. Chris has been into it, Ed admitted it, he's been into it for a long time, done most of the integration that he's been throughout New York State. You've got a lot of knowledge that's sitting right here. If you want somebody on some of the regulations, or even ask a coalition that's right in your area that's trying to make sure that the land's protected. Everything the state does, everything that the county does, everything that the town does, or the village, every bit of it is nothing but guidelines. Everything underneath that is you, the landowner yourself, and that's how you protect. Everything else is a guideline. The only way that you can protect yourself is to turn around and go through what we have for the past 4 years, traveling around and trying to educate everybody. And every time we get looked at, nope, coalitions are just for the money. Well, that's far from the statement. When we had the website up and going, we turned right straight around, it's still going. When we had the website, it turned right straight around, and one of the first questions was the money or the environment. 92% come back on that website, would take less money to make sure that this environment is well protected. And that's what the coalition's maintained. Thank you.